and then I'll get a link. There you go.
Cool.
Is that good?
Thank you.
You're
Yep.
welcome.
So
Remind me to send you the link.
sure. So just a couple of questions. What we wanted to ask you was what key life experiences that you have formed who you are today?
Oh, wow. Well, I would say definitely going to university played a big role in who I am today. I'm a first generation university student from both sides of my family, and going to university was, a step in a very different direction than my family background. So I'd say that was a pretty, pivotal moment to do that and to have that experience and opportunity. Really, it's an amazing opportunity to be able to go to a university and get a higher level of education and kind of become a professional and change your direction.
So you had like a passion for like going for university and
Yeah, I knew I was a, kind of a smart kid, and my parents were wonderful. Both were really hardworking people, and they just didn't have the same opportunities that were available to my brothers and sisters and I, that they made available to us. And I'm the second oldest. My older brother eventually went too, but he didn't go immediately out of school. Actually, all of my brothers and sisters did. It just took everybody a different path, lots of different roads to get there, but eventually all of us did. And yeah, it was just a different time. And it was something possible that we could do. I didn't really know what I wanted to study. I just knew that I wanted to study and have the opportunity to kind of have a degree and a different path in life.
I see. And how did you become passionate and involved in the architect field?
I thought I might be interested in architecture. A family friend was an architect. My father was a kind of an entrepreneur and had built a bunch of buildings. And so I had been on job sites, and I kind of understood what architects did. So when I applied to university, I applied to schools that had architecture programs, and I was accepted into one. And first day of class, I thought, yep, this is it. I love it. And never turned back. I really, really liked the in-studio environment and the kind of the logical thinking combined with the creative thinking that, worked quite well for me.
And what are your core values and how are you reflected in your practice?
Well, at a certain point, when I did actually a 6-year B.Arch at Rice University. So that university, you do 4 years of undergraduate, then a year of work of internship, basically. And then you go back for a final thesis year. So when you finish that, you have a professional degree. And so when I completed that, I worked for 4 years in a small practice and simultaneously taught at the University of Houston in their first year program. And, I was juggling a lot between those two activities. And at a certain point, it became clear to me that I would like to go further into academia. So at that point, I think I made a shift in direction. Not that I didn't enjoy practice, I really did, but I had a kind of affinity for working with students. And I really, really enjoyed working with students and thinking through projects and problems and developing coursework and lectures and all of these sorts of things that you do when you're teaching architecture. So I kind of made a choice at that point. I don't know that it was a conscious choice to separate a little bit from practice, but I made a choice to go back to school to get a master's degree, a post-professional degree, so that I would be more competitive in the academic market. And then that led me, when I finished my graduate work, I received a fellowship to study, to do 1 year of study at the Staatliche Hochschule in Frankfurt. And that shifted everything, because then I went to Germany for a year I had this amazing year of working with a couple of really, really brilliant architects and educators. And at the end of that year, they both invited me to start teaching with them and to basically kind of run the day-to-day operations of the program in Germany. So then that really, I don't think until then I really thought I would be ever complete, like really leave practice, but that drew me even further into academia. So, and I love to say, you know, there's lots and lots of ways to be a terrific architect. You know, there are academics who focus more on the thinking and the practicing with students within the studio environment. And then there are professionals that are focused on building things. And then my own graduate class from UCLA, I would say 2/3 of my graduate class went into Hollywood and produced movies and, you know, worked in that industry. I know people with architecture degrees that have gone on to work in the creative and research development branches of Google and Intel, and architects do all sorts of things.
So it's a big field.
Yeah, it's a very good education. You know, it's a very broad education, and you study the sciences and math and history and culture and politics and design and, you know, creative thinking and problem solving. So, yeah, lots of architects build buildings, and that's a wonder, or do, you know, urbanism, which is a wonderful thing, but architects do lots of other things too.
And one question, like it's kind of like an alternative question or extension question. Did you face any like big challenges throughout your journey?
Oh yeah, lots of them. Sure, of course. There's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be hiccups in the road. Yep. There's always going to be this kind of, you know, conflict of should I turn left or should I turn right, or am I doing the right thing, or you know, is this going the way that I want it to? You know, that's just out there, and I don't think that is particular to our discipline. I know people from every walk of life, people who are, you know, owners of shops to people that are, you know, heads of CEOs of companies, and we all have those hiccups in the road. Life is just that way. You know, it's how you deal with it. It's how you, how you deal with what's in front of you. And you don't really know for sure what's going to be in front of you. I know a lot of people are goal oriented and make long-term plans, and that serves them well. And people think I'm crazy or I'm lying when I say that I've never been.
You're just leaving it. Yeah.
I really have never been. And I think it comes a little bit from my background. You know, my father, my parents were very much people who just had to deal with, you know, the day-to-day of their kind of experiments in
don't worry about the future
and losing businesses and, you know, the ups and downs of all of that. I just don't know how much you can actually plan. I also like to put it out there that I'm not a huge person of the idea of passion. I know lots of people are, and I know some people are, let's say, gifted with the grace of being given a passion or born with a passion. But I think the majority of us find a passion by just going to work every day and getting good at something and practicing at it. And, you know, it's nice to say, I do like to say my first studio class, I was hooked, but I wasn't passionate about it. I just really liked it. And I knew that I could continue it. I didn't let's put it like this. I decided not to change majors more than I decided to keep the major, right? I liked it. I enjoyed it. I was good at it. I worked hard at it, and I just stayed with it. And if you stay with something long enough, and I think this is true in all aspects of your life relative to your family, your relationships, your friends, when you stay with something long enough and you really get to know it internally, and you get to basically love it because you know it so well, because you've created a relationship over time.
Yep.
Then you can say you're passionate about it. So I like to put that out there, especially to students, because sometimes I think we project to the students that they should be passionate about what they're doing. And I think they should just be committed to what they're doing and work
And then
hard.
it's gonna happen.
And then the passion will come.
Yep. Yep.
So, you know, if it's not, it's often students will say to me, well, I don't know if I'm passionate about it. And I'm like, well, I don't know that you need to be. I mean, why would you expect to be passionate about something you've been doing it for 2 years?
It's really good advice.
There you go. But that's my take. That's not everybody's take.
I see. And what was like your design process, like, you know, including design thinking, like visual realizations?
I was a very strong visual thinker, and I was in a program as an undergraduate where visual thinking was not just taught, but emphasized. And we're a very strong studio-based program, and also within the fine arts. So every semester you took an architectural design studio and an arts studio, an architectural history course and an art history course. So visual thinking through all of that kind of history and studio courses, sort of, again, it's something, the more you practice it, the better you get to it and the more attached you are to it. So I'd say visual thinking is a really important part of who I am, or who I've become. But I think too, you know, people have different types of brains. You know, I see it in my own kids. You know, some are more analytical thinkers and some are more visual thinkers, and you can flip back and forth between the two. And I think architects do move pretty freely back and forth between those two sides of your brain. But I think it's something that is kind of trained over time. And it's probably natural for some people. For me, I think it was trained.
And how do you collaborate with other individuals to realize your impactful work?
You know, I'd have to say that collaboration was not something that came naturally to me. And I don't know. I think that students that go to schools that have, and I mean, like starting from very young, and again, I've seen this with my own kids. My kids were in a Montessori, and working together and doing things collaboratively starts at 3. Like they just 3 years old, they start doing things in little groups, and everybody's got their part and they all have to work together to make it happen. My education was very, very opposite. It was more your kind of standard, kind of very academic, memorize it and repeat it and memorize it and repeat it and memorize it and repeat it. You know, this kind of testing standard thing. And that is a very individual thing, and it breeds competition, and it's not about working together. And then I have to say too, my architectural education, which is 8 years, 9 really, if you count the fellowship, not once in 9 years did I have a collaborative practice project. Not once. Not once in any of the studios, in any of the history theory courses. Never once in 9 years did I do anything that was collaborative. So, so actually getting out and starting in practice I found it a little rough, because the reality of what you do as an architect is collaborate all the time. You don't do anything individually. So here you are in an office collaborating with people when you've spent, you know, all of these years never collaborating, and always thinking that it was all about you and all about your ideas and all about what you could do. And, you know, and then you become sort of a strong designer that way, but you also become very difficult to work with. And I think it took me, I know, you know, my early years of practicing, it definitely took me a while to and a few hiccups to get it that, oh, wait a minute, this isn't mine. This is ours. This is everybody's, right? And all these people on the job site, it belongs to them too. I mean, you got to collaborate with everybody if you want to get something done and something built. So it took me a while to learn that skill. And I'm a big proponent of teaching it that way now, teaching design studios. In fact, over the years, I've transitioned from the more traditional, independent work in design studio, which in fact is easier to teach, to collaborative practice in design studios. Because I think it's just so important, and even more so now in the way that the world is going, and kind of massive globalization, and immediate information. All of that means that you really have to be more open to working with people and working with others' ideas and other skills and other expertise. So that was something I had to learn how to do and how to teach.
And how has Peter Zumthor's all architecture's ideas and buildings impacted your practice?
Well, I think he's one of the world's great architects from his generation. I've also had the pleasure of meeting him on a couple of different occasions. He was, I don't even remember how long it was ago now, maybe 20 years ago. He was here for a semester, and that was just a delight to have him around. He taught he did a series of lectures and kind of impromptu seminars, and truly a very, very generous in terms of his ideas and his engagement with the students and the faculty. He was a wonderful person. So, and of course, as I think every architect on the planet is drawn to the work. It's so beautiful and so very well detailed, and the spaces are really moving. And I've had the opportunity and pleasure of being in most of his projects. I think I've seen most of them, not every single one, and I've been to quite a few several times. So I know that, I've been through the work, and it's spectacular. Yeah, I've experienced it, and it's very, very experiential work. You can get a feel for it through the photography, and he's done a very good job collaborating with a brilliant photographer to photograph the work. And so it does come through, but when you're in the spaces themselves, you get this feeling of kind of awe and kind of mystery. It's a very particular type of work. It requires a certain kind of client and a certain certain budget. It's very expensive. It's not something that can be done. The attention to detail and the materiality and the way that these projects are constructed is not something that can happen just anywhere. So, he's someone from a very particular region with a very strong engagement to architecture and quality design that has the financial backing to support that. So he's kind of the right person, the right place, the right time. It's kind of a perfect lineup. Yeah.
And last question, what advice would you give for a young student, going to the field, and would love to have your word for it?
Keep showing up. You keep asking yourself, do I like this? And not am I passionate about it, not is this going to be the rest of my life? Do I like it today? Do I like it tomorrow? Do I think I'll like it next week? And keep showing up and keep trying to learn something every day. Go in there and think, what can I figure out how to do today that I didn't know how to do yesterday? Even if it's just fix the Xerox machine, if anybody uses the Xerox machine anymore. But it's there's so much to learn when you go into practice, and it's not all about, it all leads to better design, but better design really means, learning how to cooperate with people, learning how to answer the phone, learning how to talk to a client, learning how to balance a checkbook, learning, how to move money around. There's so much involved in being successful in practice. Yes, being a good designer is a part of it, but it is such a small part of it. And you kind of just have to keep showing up, keep paying attention, keep engaging it, and keep enjoying it. You've got to, I think one of the great things about our profession is that it has a lot to offer in terms of intellectual stimulation and just flat out enjoyment. So you have to keep finding a way to be plugged into that.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to have the interview with you. It was really, really good interview today, actually.
I'm glad. I enjoyed talking with you. What year are you in the program?
I'm a second year sophomore.
Second year sophomore. Okay, great.
Yep.
So you've got a couple more years. Great.
Yep.
All right. So terrific. So I'm sure I will see you somewhere in studio in the next couple of years.
Thank you so much.
Great to meet you. And I'll figure out how to send this to you in a minute here.
Cool. Thank you so much.
If you don't have it in a half an hour, that means I've had a problem, and send me an email and remind me.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Have a good day. Bye.
You too. Bye.